For that night, I'll be in tonight's minutes, and I think it's,
I'm sorry, Dave. Go back to page 3.
yeah, page 3. The top part of the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth
Okay,
line
all right.
down, just leave it as. I just find it, I really feel like someone's playing games. I mean, you have something that's pretty much verbatim, and my comment was removed, and the comment was, at least I'll be in the minutes. I'd like that put back in.
So, I'll be in the minutes, is what you want to add to that, you're saying?
Well, I'd like someone to actually put the whole comment back in there. We were discussing Mr. Truelove's fee, and
But I thought it was in the previous minutes, right?
no, it wasn't, and that's when I said, well, okay, it's not in the minutes, but I'll be in tonight's minutes. And it wasn't in tonight's minutes either, it just says I made a comment, and
Okay.
that's why I make these comments, that it seems a little funny. I mean, I realize sometimes things aren't picked up on the tape, but that's a pretty silly thing to just cut my comment. I'd like that in my comment to be expanded.
All right, so can we make a motion to approve these minutes to include...
Wait. I know something.
All right, well, let me ask this first question. To have the tape reviewed and whatever Mr. Ravella said on that particular line, to add that.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
Add Dave's remarks.
And my only other question, just want to make sure that my report says in the beginning, the mayor report is going to be attached, just that it will be actually attached on the final copy. I don't believe it was attached.
Attached to, yeah, you know what, they don't send it, when they send these, they don't really send them because they already have it individually, but when it goes in the book, it's, but you want to make sure it's in the book.
Just want to make sure that you're really truly attached. That's all. I'm not doubting it, it's not there, so I'm just making sure.
Okay.
I agree with the mayor. I picked up on that too. I thought that was odd that it just stated like that, and he'd asked for it to be in. I thought that. Two things. First one, we also did a executive session, and then we adjourned. And I remember telling everyone in the audience that you might not want to stay because after we close the meeting, we're going to have the exec. There's nothing even in here saying that we did an executive session for personnel.
This is on the 15th, you said.
Yes, it was. No statement that we
You know when it was?
right before we adjourned. Told the public we were going to do an executive session, which we did. And it's not in there. And then we closed. The other thing too, as the mayor is mentioning too, it seems like certain things get verbatim, you want them in, and certain things are not verbatim.
Just as a reminder,
Or not.
just as a reminder, this was the day that they were not reported. Didn't come up. This was the.
So this came off of what?
This came off of the minutes and none of the notes.
So you took handwritten notes and made this? You're saying you made no video at all, or recording?
That no recording, just.
Oh. I guess I could have gone online and got the video then, because I really would have appreciated my apology from Mr. Bates when he was kind of rude to me. That was, but I didn't realize it wasn't recording at all. I'd really like to also have at least that executive session put in there. It's pretty important.
So the executive session was announced before we adjourned, which
Yeah.
I'm sure we did.
Yes.
Well, until these are complete, then maybe we should just, with all these changes, maybe we should just put them off.
Please.
You want me to rescind my motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I rescind my motion.
I didn't want to say anything.
Okay.
It's like pulling teeth getting that second out of you.
Okay, so, just one moment until I finish this up. And was there something else, Betty? Did you say?
Well, you don't have recording of it, so I guess, I don't know, I'll have to,
There's one on YouTube.
We don't take it on.
No, I'm not suggesting the borough does, I'm just saying I'm all.
I appreciate that.
Everyone wants to
Thank you.
double check something, they're out there.
well, that's why people are complaining we don't have a piece of video system, because it was promised, and they have every right to complain.
Next, I'd like to move on to the special Borough Council meeting of December 29th, 2014.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second the motion.
Questions or comments on these minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I should have said it ahead of time. I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at that meeting.
And I'm going to abstain from that because I was not at that meeting.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cicero.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Chronicle.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Sanford.
Abstain.
Well, you guys can say it
You
again.
have to say it again.
No.
Ms. Smith.
Abstain.
Mr. Kernan.
Yes.
Ms. Sherlock.
Yes, motion carries 6-0 with 2 abstentions. All right, next, we'll move on to reports. We have a manager's report.
Okay, just have a couple things. William Park, storm drain is 100% complete, and that should keep down the flooding in Williamson Park from now on. We had 2 new lawsuits filed against the borough in the last couple of weeks. And they were both reported to IRM, or insurance company. The project is now about 98% complete. We've already received 1 rebate check of $500, and that was for the boiler. We're expecting our other rebate checks to be in the month of January. One should be around $34,000, and that's for the lights, and the other one's about $3,000 to $4,000, and that's for the traffic lights. That's extending my report.
Thank you. Solicitor's report?
We have not reported on.
All right, next we have the engineer's report. I do not see Jim here this evening, but he did send us a report. Mayor's report.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for all the continued support and the positive feedback that I've been receiving regarding our Morrisville Police Department and all the positive changes we've been making. Dispelling the rumor that I'd be soft on crime during 2014, Chief McClay, the officers, the staff, and I have been working diligently to improve the department, and of course will continue to do so. I would like to recognize Officer Erica McIntyre and George for an arrest of 4 juveniles in Trenton for the auto theft and recovering a vehicle that was stolen that very same day in Morrisville. I'd also like to recognize Officer Tislani and Officer Luna, and once again George, who made an arrest of 2 males that were on the way into our borough to steal cars. One of these males actually admitted that he was the middleman that was stealing and selling cars over the past few months. Lastly, I also want to make sure I recognize Officer Matthews for an arrest of the 3 suspects that were involved with the pizza delivery man robbery. Also, I believe the robocall that many should have received from Chief McClay to our residents informing them about the vehicle thefts was another first to the Morrisville Police Department. The department continues to be up 34% in drug arrests. The miles on the police vehicles continue to be up 32%. Thank you. That's the extent of my report.
Thank you. Would you mind if we have that?
Yeah, but there's one typo in
Okay.
it. I wrote it.
Next we have the police chief's report. Have a report this evening?
Oh, I left plenty. He can go on for a while.
Good evening, council.
Evening, Chief.
Like the mayor was saying, we've had a very busy December. We had a problem with our citizens leaving the vehicles running in the morning. We took 6 steps to try to get that to stop. Newspaper articles, Facebook posting, announcement at the council meeting, the robocall, the public access cable channel, and a change of police schedules to bring guys in earlier to address that fact. I brought in guys at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we hit them pretty hard coming in. Like the mayor spoke about, we did arrest 2 kids coming in a loose stolen car. He admitted that he was the middleman for at least 25 deals for selling cars to Liberians in Newark. Since arresting those 2 kids, we just arrested 4 more yesterday and 2 other stolen cars. Everything's being stolen in Hamilton and being brought over here and trying to steal more cars. So our citizens have to be on top of their game and not leave their vehicles running in the morning. It's 110% better, but it's not perfect yet. I need our citizens to not leave their cars running in the morning. So with that being said, we were very successful. We had 8 vehicles stolen in December. We had a couple stolen in the beginning of January, and like I said, it stopped. We targeted the areas, and the officers did a fantastic job in stopping everything. We did an audit of our crime for the year. We missed 5 crimes, which was, we changed the UCR to update it to the state, so everything is accurate. But even with those 5 crimes that we did miss, we were still down 20% compared to last year. If I take these stolen cars out, we'll be down a lot more. And that is something we'll be targeting as we go in throughout the winter and then going into the next winter again. Like the mayor spoke about, Lee Matthews made a fantastic arrest. 3 males were arrested for that robbery of the pizza delivery man. 2 of these kids did confess. The one is still over in the workhouse over in Trenton. So they did a fantastic job with that. The kid who admitted to middling these cars received $250,000 bail by Judge Burns. So it was nice to see that he also helps us as much as possible to put these kids in jail. What else we got going on? Training. Our school resource officer went up to Lackawanna County and took the advanced school resource officer course, which was another grant by the school. Our officers are going down to the Philadelphia Police Department and receiving crime scene training. They will be going down there until everybody is trained. They get out for 3 days during the week. Justin Burkhart went down last week and was amazed how busy the city of Philadelphia is. So it's great training we got going on. It's going to continue. Our numbers are good. Our vehicles were ordered for this coming year. And we're looking forward to a fantastic year for the police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will move on to finance. May I have here the bill list, please?
General fund, $15,130.94. Library fund, $977.54. Recreation fund, $936.31. Street fund, $1,931.25. State highway fund, $2,939.34. MEAC open space, $24,148.92. Morrisville Fire Company escrow, $92.20. A grand total of $423,071.86.
Thank you. Very minimal. I forgot to state the street lighting.
Street lighting fund, $28.44.
All right, you've heard the bill list. May I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments on the bill list?
Yeah, I have a question. On the street lighting fund, what happened to the other $700 and some dollars? How are we being billed for the lighting? I'm just trying to figure it out myself. I'm comparing it from the other ones.
Say the question again.
Well, I know we have 2844, usually it's more now.
The bill might have not come in yet.
I don't know what the 28, I didn't bring the whole list. I don't know what that was. That could have been,
Right, that's just what we owe currently.
Yeah, that might not even be for streetlights, that might be, I don't know, part. I'm not sure.
Well, it's under street lighting, it's what, special lights,
That was made by Jackie Corinne. It's repair for the Manor Park lighting. That's $28.44. Okay? All right. So we have a first, we have a second.
I have a question. Well, just a statement, actually. First thing I noticed when the bill pay list came in is we're borrowing a $300,000 loan from the TAM fund again this year. We need it to pay bills.
Sorry, we're having some background noise. If you have to have a conversation, please take it outside.
We usually borrow from the TAN fund because there's no tax money coming in until about April.
Right.
But the TAN fund is for.
Yeah, I just noticed we did it last year and this year, but we didn't do several years before. So I'm just saying, I noticed it's, again, we're borrowing it.
Well,
Just a statement.
well, I could explain. Last year, in the 2014 budget, we cut the budget pretty hard, and there wasn't a lot of money carried over from the 2014 budget to the 2015 budget. There wasn't money left over. So there was, it was pretty mean last year, and there wasn't a lot of money carried over. So we had to immediately borrow from the TAN fund to make our bills.
It's also lean again this year, it's $34,000 we're carrying over. Which is not very much to start your year off with.
Question, maybe I didn't notice before, on the recreation fund, on the Pico Energy bills, it has electric/new clubhouse, and then a separate one says account number 2, electric/com playground. Why is there two different ones, like one is for, what is the electric com playground?
I believe that's Imagination Island.
This one's the second account 2 is Imagination Island.
There's all kinds of electric bills.
Well, the
The
electric,
clubhouse is separate from the rest of the park.
is that the baseball clubhouse?
Yes.
And do we pay a percentage, they do, what is that?
I think we paid a portion of that bill, but not all.
We don't know how much?
Maybe Bob can answer that. I don't know.
How much did we pay that bill, Bob? The
Well, we
baseball?
pay $196, so I don't know what.
Yeah, the agreement that we worked out with baseball, I wanna say we pay up to the first $3,000, and then after that, then they would pay the rest for the rest of the year.
Yeah, because I was noticing that the bill list every month, it's got amount, it's even high season where it's higher, so I was asking, I've never known what our percentage is.
Well, it depends on how many, they use that in the winter time for a lot of their meetings.
Right.
So that's why years ago, we looked at it and says, it's just getting,
Is that also lights in the batting area? Because there's lights inside there, is that all one bill, is that separate? How do you do that?
the bill for just the
That's-
one for the clubhouse is for the clubhouse. All the lights are metered separately.
So the batting one's separate from that?
Correct.
That's what I'm saying, it's confusing because we have all these separate.
All the street lights are separate, every concession stands, there's a whole bunch, in the park. They all have their own meter and their own account.
Thank you, Bob. We pay about $196 every month, for the busier months, so, that's an average, but I'm sure it's busier. So that would be $2,400.
It's different every month. Some are like 300, some, yeah, a lot higher, so I'm asking you.
Any other questions?
No, that's all, thank you.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. No more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next, we have a motion to approve payment of $1,102.11 to Eric Kraut for a tax appeal refund as per documentation from Pat Portash, Morrisville Borough Tax Collector, dated December 9th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Was that Corinne?
Yes.
Yes.
Questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next, we have new business, it's 10A, a motion to authorize advertisement of the proposed floodplain ordinance for publication.
So moved. Second?
That was Jeff, right? I don't know if anyone needs a further, I don't know if anyone needs a further explanation, but this is the FEMA maps, these are the flood maps. And we are required to have them done by March 15th. Any other questions or comments on this motion?
Yeah, I guess it's a comment. I was able to look at this, and I realize this is something that pretty much needs to be done, but coincidentally, Barbara's sitting next to me. There's an email that came in the Friday packet. It's from Barbara, that's from October 30th. It says, Tom, it attaches the final draft of the floodplain ordinance. Just wondering why it took so many months to make it to the elected officials.
Because our engineer was reviewing it too.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I'm
we
curious.
really had it the whole time.
Yeah, but I mean, it was, Barbara did her part in October, and I just, and you'll see repeatedly, I don't particularly like that things come on a Friday for a Monday or it's a Tuesday vote. Thank you.
The other question, on that floodplain, has there been any changes in the floodplain in the map? Well, I'm just, what are the changes? I have not seen the map.
When Mr. Majewski was here before, he said some are in now that weren't, and some are out now that were in before. That was his explanation. He said it was not our duty to inform those folks of that will all be done through the proper channels.
Thank you.
So I don't know who they are, but I would imagine their insurance company will let them know. I'm sure. All right, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next, we have B, it's a motion to approve resolution to revise the towing fees in accordance with the towing ordinance number 879.
So moved. Second.
This is really just a change in fees. The $100 is $100 for the vehicles for 2 wheels or more, and that went up from $85. And then the other change was the storage fees went from $45 to $60, and the other part remains the same. Questions or comments on this motion?
Again, the comment is, I'm disappointed that it took about a month for Barbara's work to make it to the council. Barbara actually jumped on that. After the last council meeting, it was really quick that she prepared it, and then it didn't come to this Friday. That's all.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next is 10C, a motion to authorize advertisement of the proposed ordinance repealing ordinance number 845 in part, eliminating the residency requirement for the borough manager for publication.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Questions or comments on the motion?
Yeah, why?
Why not?
Exactly. Took 4 years to get there. Are we replacing the borough manager?
Eventually,
Are we doing it now?
right now, I don't think so. But eventually, I think this
So,
is,
so we're changing the ordinance to make them comply at this point.
I don't think this, personally, I don't think this has anything to do with Mr. Bates. I think it has to do with the pool of people that we would pull from in the future.
Mhm.
That's why I think it's important that we
We
move on
didn't enforce
this.
the ordinance for 4 years.
Excuse me.
Objection, Mrs. Chairman.
That's why I think it's important that we move on this sooner rather than later.
I know. Also, I'd like to add, sorry, there had been some discussion about some of the outdated ordinances and how things should be changed and how possibly we would create a committee, and then there was talk of maybe having the policy committee do it. The borough manager's ordinance, and this part of it is outdated. A lot of other boroughs don't require it or have a caveat to appoint somebody who doesn't live in the borough. I just don't like putting the cart before the horse. I think we need to look at the entire ordinance, the borough manager's job description and expectations, and, you know, the contract for the borough manager is up at the end of the year. I believe we need to begin to to look towards a replacement, since he's made it clear that he might not wish to remain. If he does, then he can apply, but just to pull this one ordinance right now and demand a vote on it just looks bad.
I don't understand how it looks bad, but I don't know that we're
It looks
demanding
bad.
anything, but
It looks
If-
bad, because I kind of have to
if
agree.
council doesn't want to vote on it, then we won't vote on it. I don't understand.
I'm voting no, because I think to pull this one ordinance out of all the ordinances, to just repeal it now, without looking at the entire ordinance, without having any committee meetings, any kind of discussion, formulating any plan for the future, just to pull this one out, after ignoring it for so long, just looks bad.
I don't think the rest of the ordinance, excuse me, addresses any qualifications.
They don't, but it discusses his duties and responsibilities and controls within the
I
borough.
don't think this particular ordinance does.
It absolutely does.
It does, okay.
It does,
I
and
apologize.
I recently read it again, and I don't see anything wrong with the ordinance as it stands. Except for the residency, that's become an issue.
Well, there was discussion about who hires a part-time police officer, and right now the borough manager does. So I have to agree with Mr. Parker. I think this one portion should be fixed, and I have to, I'm not voting on this, I would think, but I have to agree with Mr. Parker, where if you're gonna fix the ordinance, fix the whole ordinance, not just pick it apart and pull one piece of it.
I mean,
I thought, for some reason, I thought.
it needs to be changed. I mean, I've done some research on this. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I was just gonna say, I thought a committee was gonna review the whole ordinance.
Well, that's what it was. I had begun researching on this. I mean, this is an anomaly in modern, borough ordinances. I mean, there are some that have it, a lot have it, but then also have the ability to appoint somebody outside. Quite a few don't have it at all. Hiring a borough manager from outside of the borough is a common practice. But to just pull this one ordinance out now without reviewing it, it just appeared, and I have a problem with that.
I don't know that it just appeared, but
It just appeared. It just
It's
appeared.
been
There was no project.
discussion
Yeah, there
for
was.
how many months? I mean,
Where?
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 There was no motion, it was
No.
just popped in the Friday packet.
I'm not talking
Sure
about that, I'm
did.
talking about, it's been a topic of conversation in
Well,
this borough
Off the days.
for two.
Off the days, not on the days.
Or off the dais, Debbie, but also with the folks that come to the podium.
But what I'm saying is, council as a whole, has we ever had a meeting to say, we need to discuss looking at this ordinance and see what changes are made? You can't just keep doing this and give it to us on a Friday and say, here, look at this on the weekend and think, tell me what you think on Monday or Tuesday. That's what we have here. These are serious things, we start changing the ordinance. I have no problem with that and looking at that, but don't expect to give it to us on a Friday, come here and say, what do you think? Well, gee,
It's one statement that we're referring to.
Why this one?
There's legal fees
Right.
involved. So if you're gonna spend the money, fix the whole ordinance.
Why not table it, kick it back to either a committee to look at ordinances or to the policy committee?
I
And
don't,
then revisit it in a month or two. I don't know why it has to be right now on such short.
It's council's pleasure, whatever they want to do.
honestly, again, I think the council, if you look at the whole ordinance, would support removing this part, but I think they should look at the entire ordinance.
Please, from the audience, I
Yeah, I would like.
I think everyone up here knows which direction they want to take or don't want to take. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I agree with Mr. Parker in some respects that, if we do send it to the policy committee or whatever committee directs that, if we could expedite that to like 2 months so that we can have it on our agenda within 2 months, would that be?
That's
I don't have a problem with that. Being on the policy committee, I don't see that would be a problem, to table it for 2 months.
That's all I'm asking. I think it's just,
Can I
I
vote
know
to
it's been
table it?
talked about, I'm sorry.
what did you say, Debbie?
Vote to table it.
We'll withdraw it and make a motion to fix the whole thing.
Well, whoever's going to do something, please do it officially.
If we table it, we're bringing the same issue up later. So why don't we rescind what's on the table, look at it again,
Okay,
come back to it?
all right, agreed. Remove it, fix it.
I'll withdraw my motion.
All right. So 10C is withdrawn until further notice.
The Crins okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to 10D. A motion to authorize advertisement of the proposed ordinance repealing Chapter 189, firearms in its entirety, and amending Chapter 305, parks and recreations areas, to remove certain regulations of the possession and discharge of firearms for publication. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Me.
Okay. Okay. Could you weigh in on this a little bit, Barbara, just to give the folks a,
This is an issue that has been facing municipalities all over Pennsylvania, with the gun lobby having gotten legislature to pass a bill that grants organizations such as the NRA standing to come into a local community and challenge any kind of ordinance that, with which they disagree. So we have reviewed all of our clients' ordinances, codes, to see if we found anything that, might be subject to challenge. The worst part about the legislation is that if the municipality chooses to defend an ordinance that regulates guns in any manner locally and loses, they're liable to pay whatever organization is suing them all their legal fees. So it's potentially a huge expense. So we had recommended taking out, repealing any of the provisions in the borough's code that regulates in any manner firearms. That's basically the purpose of this ordinance.
and that's in all locations.
And it's because state law supersedes borough law.
Correct.
Exactly.
Did you want to?
It's a preemption issue, that's right.
It was House Bill 80 that was signed by Governor Corbett, and it became effective January 5th, 2015. Significantly amended the Pennsylvania Uniform Firearms Act, which now allows firearms in our parks as well as other locations.
Yeah, and in fact, the borough received a letter from a lawyer who is pushing all of this and represents the gun interests, essentially pointing out certain provisions in the code and threatening litigation.
So we really have no choice. It's not something that, voting no doesn't help, it only makes a statement. So unfortunately, I think it behooves us to have to follow through with this.
And if I may, I'd just like to add, once again, I see that this was stamped from the borough December 29th. Again, it took a couple of weeks to get to us. I did receive it though on the 16th, and I did a little research. Everyone knows I like to do my due diligence. And as Ms. Hurley, I pointed out with this letter, Prince Law, he's a pretty big guy that does a lot of gun lobbying, and I found on the internet, interestingly enough, May 6, 2013, he claims that had sent via fax a letter basically asking this to be repealed a couple years ago, but I don't know if the borough ever received it. I know I certainly didn't. But it was a while ago because it says C.C. Jim Downey and Thomas Karen, so.
And that preceded the legislation, obviously, so it became a much more critical issue once the legislature passed the bill.
Yeah, I did see in the newspaper, all the towns in Bucks County and around were lost.
So I'll read the motion very quickly again. It's a motion to authorize advertisement of the proposed ordinance repealing Chapter 189, firearms in its entirety, and amending Chapter 305, parks and recreations areas, to remove certain regulations of the possession and discharge of firearms for publication. We have a first and we have a second. Any other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. 10E, a motion to approve a resolution to change the salary of the controller to $0 annually. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I have something to say on
But
this.
we-
No, second.
I thought you already had second.
No, second.
You get a second?
Second the motion.
We didn't. Okay, now we have a second. Now we can have discussion. Discussion or questions? Todd?
I have a question. I thought that a controller, when it's an elected position, and it's under a contract, the salary that was promised to him, how can you renew that?
It's not this
Until the term
controller.
is up.
It's not this controller, it's the one that will be elected.
Actually, Todd, I thought the same thing, but if you look in what's in the packet tonight, it does have a start date, because I was gonna say, how do you do this once it kick in?
Yeah.
But it does say the next.
Our solicitor's going to explain it.
Yeah, essentially, correct that the controller is an elected position that became a position when it was established pursuant to the Borough Code by council many years ago. The Borough Code has a provision requiring only that council, quote, fix the annual salary of the controller. It also says that any change in that salary will become effective until the beginning of the next term of the controller. So the reason it's on the agenda tonight is that, as was pointed out earlier, the middle of February is the deadline for nominating positions for the upcoming municipal election. And this is the last opportunity for Borough Council to make this decision. There's no prohibition regarding, reducing the amount to zero. There's no requirement that it be a minimum amount. It's open to the discretion of Borough Council. So that's essentially where this is coming from.
And the purpose of it is not to eliminate the controller position.
But you would eliminate people who would think about it.
What it does is gives anyone who's thinking of running for controller in the next upcoming election, it puts them on notice that there will be no salary.
But the question begs why? Is this an attempt to discourage people from running for the office? Because that's kind of what it looks like to me.
That, I believe, can be addressed by Mr. Bates.
The reason to take the salary down to zero is because council said they didn't want to pay two people. Right now, they said, it wasn't that, Mr. Farrell said that we didn't want to, we wanted to stop the controller from, or make the controller come in here. Well, the reason the controller has to come in here is because it's not like any other person. The controller has to remove documents from the borough if he leaves here. And they are legal documents, and legally he cannot remove those documents. It's against the law for him to remove legal documents from the borough. If he takes legal documents out of the borough and loses them or they're destroyed, they're gone forever. Okay? All auditors come into the borough. They come to this table, they go to this back room, they come to the tables downstairs, review the documents, do their audits here in the borough. They do not take the documents home or outside of the borough. The secretary of the borough is responsible and does not let the documents, legal documents, leave the borough. He can make copies and take them out, but he cannot take the legal documents. This controller wanted to take the documents out of the borough.
I have a question.
He was used to doing that. Go ahead.
My question, can council restore the salary at a later date?
Council can restore the salary at any time, but the only thing is...
I'm asking the solicitor.
I'm sorry.
It can be restored, it can be changed, but only not mid-term.
All right, so this is good for the entire term of the new controller, whomever that is.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
But we didn't want to pay two people. Right now, we're paying two people. We're paying the controller who does not come in here, does not do the controlling job. And then we're paying an auditor also. Council stated before, why are we paying two people? This way we won't pay two people.
But do you realize that this looks like you're trying to dissuade the current controller from rerunning?
No, you can run. You can be controller.
I mean, you just basically said that you wish to drop it to zero, the salary to zero, because this current controller does this. Not that a future controller would do that, but this current controller does this. So what, if his term is up at the end of this year, Why are we changing it now?
Because.
Because we have to, because of the 4-year term, we can't do it then. So basically, you're saying you're trying to punish
Eliminate.
current controller by eliminating the salary because we may pay somebody else. Why leave it to the public to decide whether they want the current controller back as a controller? Why do we keep playing with this? We gave him an opportunity to come in and do his job. If he can't do it, then let the public decide that he shouldn't be controller anymore.
We're still paying him $200 a month.
Okay.
Well,
It's
okay.
$200 a month. That we can't change.
Because if you get an auditor, you don't have to keep the same auditor. It's not an elected position. When the auditor comes in, if the auditor doesn't.
But you're not
apply,
eliminating the position.
well, you can't do that with a controller. Once you set his salary, you pay him whether he does his job or not.
Well-
With an auditor, if the auditor doesn't do his job, you can dismiss the auditor. It's not an elected position. You have more flexibility as a borough.
Well, I have a question, I don't know if anyone knows the answer, but being we're talking about the $200 a month stipend, if you will, has the current controller actually been collecting the money, or is he putting it in escrow?
No, it has not.
It doesn't matter
Yeah, but that
whether,
money's held in escrow.
that money is held in escrow for him, it goes to the state. He can collect that money, like he could say, I'm not collecting money. That's great. It goes to the state, it's put in his name, and 5 years from now, he can go and say, oh, that's unclaimed money, I want my money now, and take the money. He can get that money at any time, it's always in his name at the state.
Thanks, I was curious what was going on.
It's not a good position, Ted.
I understand that, but to just change this, I mean, we can't eliminate the position, but we're trying, so if the current controller decides, well, it's not the $200 that matters, it's the fact that I want to be controller again, he can run. I don't guess.
And the question is, do you want to pay 2 people, or do you want to pay 1 person? That's the question.
I want to be able to discharge or dismiss somebody who's not doing the job. And we can't do that.
All right, please, one person at a time.
The only way to do that is by eliminating the office of controller and hiring an auditor by itself. Now, we put that on the agenda last time and you shot it down.
Well, I was just gonna say, I asked Barbara right here, which is convenient that she's next to me, and that's exactly what she said. She said you could by ordinance remove the position, so there's, you do have some options here.
Only now can you do it, tonight.
Okay.
So basically, this is a screw you, Eric Helm.
Right.
No, I don't see it.
I don't know the situation.
I'm very sorry you have that position. That's not
That's
what
what it
I'm
looks
looking at.
like to me.
Well, how do you even know that? We have no idea who has any intentions of running.
Exactly.
You might not even run next time.
Yeah, this is not about any particular person. This is about protecting the finances of the borough going forward. You don't know who's going to run or who's going to get that position and decide that they don't want to come into the borough.
But you're already deciding that there won't be any money in the budget now to
That's
not
right.
have that for next year.
That's right. That's what we're doing.
Correct?
In 2016 to
But you're saying you don't
20.
want to pay 2 people now. Will you required by law to pay him now, whether he collects it or not?
Why,
So
why,
you're still doing that.
and that was my, when we brought up, eliminating the position was, if he's not doing his job, somebody needs to run against him and say he's not doing his job, and let the public decide whether or not they wish to remove him from office. I mean, we keep playing games with this.
Maybe the public doesn't know though, Ted, that he's not coming in.
Oh,
I think they're pretty.
Are you going to put an advertisement out there in the paper?
I think we should take the name out of this conversation.
I think so
I
too.
believe it's.
Just take the salary out of the position.
So this is.
And then, once again, this is something that was brought up with no prior discussion, it was just added to the agenda. Who decided this was going to be done?
Right.
Who?
I would agree that we didn't have any.
No discussion. No
Okay, we're
discussion.
discussing it
We're
now.
discussing it now, you can say yes now or no now, or, and it was brought to our attention that it needs to be done before the
For the,
February 15th,
for the primary
which is why it was on today's
petition.
agenda.
And I have a question. How much have we paid so far in the year 2014 for outside controllers? This borough? Besides this, whatever we pay $200 per month.
Which I think was like,
Look at the
For an auditor.
$4,000 to
That's it.
$6,000.
that's 6.
So, All right, well, you know, we've had some discussion. Say call for the vote. Roll call.
Mr. Cicero.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Cronich.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
No.
Mr. Sanford.
No.
Ms. Smith.
No.
Mr. Kernan.
Yes.
Ms. Sherlock.
Yes. Motion carries 5-3. Next, we have 10F. It's a motion to accept the resignation of the elected tax collector, Patricia Portash, per her letter received on January 9th, 2015.
So moved.
Second the motion?
I have a question. I thought that I'm sorry. We are going to have that discussion, yes. But the 9th is in dispute. I thought that she sent that on the 8th, which was a Thursday. I have her letter.
I think it was the 8th.
I think we received that on the 8th.
I think it was on the 8th.
She said she resigned as of the 15th of January.
She faxed on the 8th. It was faxed to us on the 8th. So that date needs to be the 8th. I'm going to reread that since we don't have a first and second one. It's the 8th. It was January 8th. Well,
Is it on her receipt or on her
What's the stamp on the
resignation?
letter?
the stamp on her letter is January 8th. It was faxed to us. Just a short story. On Wednesday, the 7th of January, I was at the shoe repairman's